Hello, everyone. I'm super excited today to be here with a good friend, Beth Blacker. Beth, how are you today?
I'm good, thanks, Gabe. How you doing?
Good. Well, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. And why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Obviously, it's just stuff is what you do and who you are and all the things that you represent and decluttering. But tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I like to refer to myself as the chief of chaos to calm it. It's just stuff. We're a home organizing and move management service. But I say that to make sure that people understand that when they usually hear of a home organizer, they think high-end luxury type of service. But I always say that I think that for the vast majority of my clients, our clients, that it's really a necessity more than a luxury. While we do work with a lot of people who have just, the typical need to redo a pantry, need to reorganize a closet, we work primarily with a lot of people who are really struggling, and that includes seniors who especially have no family friends when they're getting ready to do the downsizing transition.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic. I love what you do, which is why I've asked you on today because I think it's so needed and misunderstood. And I know we've worked a lot together in the past with mutual clients.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think as people look to downsize, as people look to right size, as people look to declutter, and just get rid of some of their stuff that we're
Right.
also attached to. But specifically today, I want to really talk about as people age and as
Yeah.
people are specifically either looking to downsize or age in place.
Right.
What does that look like, right? What does the decluttering process look like? And if you can maybe talk through that.
It's so different for every single client, and I hate to say that because that seems like such a cop out, but it's really true. We don't believe in this being a cookie cutter type of process necessarily, and that is where I struggle with some of the social media content that's out there, especially with the celebrity organizers who are making it look like it's so easy and it should look so pretty. It is not a pretty process for, I would say, 99.9% of our clients. They're really struggling, and they really need our help. And you've seen my presentation. We've both presented at Aging at Altitude, which is a great resource here in Boulder County for seniors that are getting ready to go through that process. And in my presentation, I always say that they really need the space for grace. They really need the time to reminisce and reflect, but not necessarily wait too long. Procrastination is going to always get people in trouble, regardless of age, when it comes to this process. But for seniors, they really do need to start thinking about it at least 3 months, if not longer, before they're getting ready to actually move. Because especially if they're going into a senior living community, you're going from 4,000 square feet sometimes down to 400 square feet.
Right,
And,
right.
no matter how hard I try, I can't raise the ceiling, expand the four walls, lower the floor. The space is what it is, and we work really hard intentionally and deliberately with our clients to get them downsized enough so that they're not going to be overwhelmed with too much in that type of space. And it's a process, and it takes time, it takes patience. It can become extremely overwhelming and emotional. And so we're there, as I like to say, with the open eyes, open ears, open hands, open hearts, and open minds, because that's really what it takes. It really does.
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. And my wife and I have been dealing with this ourselves personally, as you and I have talked about. And we
Right.
understand how difficult this is. We've dealt with it with clients. I have a client, without exaggeration, who has talked about selling their home, a couple in Boulder who's talked about selling their home
Yeah.
for 2 years.
Yeah.
And they've said, we're going to sell. We just need to get rid of some of our stuff
Right.
first. And it's literally
Right.
been 2 years since
Right.
they had that conversation with me. So with that being said, it's a process, right? It's difficult. People love their stuff.
Right.
And yet what can people do to be proactive to start that process?
Well, if they're going to try and go at it alone, which is fine, nothing makes me happier to know that people are able to do it and it's not stressful and it doesn't produce anxiety. But if you can't, take things in very small chunks, and that's why you need the time. So, one cabinet, one drawer, one closet at a time. Don't try and pull everything out in one room, because that is going to overwhelm anybody. Except of course me, because I'm used to it. The number of homes I've walked into for seniors that I've explained to them, even after I've done a walkthrough, if it's just a packing job, I constantly say to them, please do me a favor. If nothing else, go through your junk drawers. Do not leave the junk drawers to get it all just thrown into a box on moving day or packing day, because you're going to open up that box when you get to the other side, especially if we're not going to be there to help unpack, and it's just going to continue to be overwhelming, and you're not going to know what to do with it. So really look at the things by categories. Most importantly, you don't need 14 spatulas or service for 48 if you're moving. But some people do. I mean, what do you think the number one question is that people ask me? Any idea?
Do I still need this? Or
Well, that, yes, but what do I do with my china and silver?
Okay.
Especially for seniors that are, in this baby boomer generation, no, I loved my china that I got when I got married years and years ago, but I don't even have it anymore. I made the decision when I moved out here that there was no reason for me to bring it into this new life. I knew I wasn't going to entertain like that anymore. And I knew I didn't want the obligation or the burden of maintaining the stuff or storing the stuff. So I assume it's still at my ex-husband's house for my daughter to take when she's ready. But if not, whatever, it's just stuff to me.
So with that being said, you've got, a widow or a widower, maybe, right? They're downsizing or just trying to declutter.
Yeah.
What is the best recommendation in that case with china or crystal that they've had for years? And, is there a marketplace for that, by the way?
There is, there are places online that you can sell, but I will tell you, it is a very difficult process. And it's only gotten harder since the pandemic, because the pandemic produced a lot of mass consumerism and then mass dumping of the consumerism, because
Interesting. Yeah.
people realized that they overspent, they overbought, and then they didn't know where to put anything. My business has exploded during the pandemic. And, I was concerned that I was going to be viewed as, dare I say, an ambulance chaser, because people needed the service even more than ever. And, I was there inserting myself in those conversations online saying, hey, this is what I recommend. And as soon as the lockdown was over, people, the demand was really, really high. And I'm still seeing homes, especially with seniors, filled with pandemic purchases. So, you bought it, take the ownership, take the responsibility for the fact that you did. Maybe you enjoyed it for however many years, maybe you never used it, but it's on some level, you gotta just let it go, because the process of trying to sell things, unless they have significant value and somebody that is actually going to want to buy it, you're going to spend so much time and so much energy putting things out on eBay and Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and Nextdoor, and then chasing people who say, oh yeah, I want that, and then they never respond, or it's a scam. They try and tell you that they sent you money, and they really didn't, but then they say, oh, well, will you send me $5, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you have, it's unfortunate that, we live in a world of scammers, but that is the reality. So, I try and have the mindset, and trust me, I may not be wealthy in terms of my bank account, but I say it all the time. I'm very rich in life, because I've built a life since I've been married and divorced twice. Since getting divorced a second time and moving to Colorado, I built a life around experiences and people rather than things. And I don't even want to own a plant anymore. I've got a little puppy sitting in my lap right now that belongs to my housemate, that I'm thrilled to take care of him for a little while, but beyond that, I barely want to take care of myself. So, I don't want that responsibility. I don't want that burden anymore in my life. And so I try and impress that upon people, that you could spend the rest of your life trying to sell things. And why waste the time? Is that money you're going to get for that item and all the collective items really going to change the trajectory of your life for the rest of your life? Is it going to, pay for a year of assisted living? Then I would say, sure, go ahead, start selling. But if it's only going to pay for like maybe one trip to the grocery store, I don't know. Is that really worth it? I only you can answer for yourself, and
Sure.
and all of my clients too. I never tell my clients what they have to do. I am just there to guide them as best as I possibly can for their individual circumstances and needs.
Yeah, and that's again, I think a great point that you're making, that every situation is unique. Every situation is different. If you
Right,
have kids and you want your kids to inherit something and
right,
you know, and oh, by the way, call them over to the house and say,
right,
come grab it now,
right, right.
right? Take it off my
Yeah,
hands. Or if you don't have kids and if you want to leave it to charity or something.
right.
So, what organizations are out there that you might support to say, hey, you've got some things that you don't need anymore and you're ready
Right.
to part with them? Where can people take their stuff to?
In Boulder County, we're very fortunate because there are a lot of smaller nonprofits that are very targeted at helping different demographics. There is an organization called Home Ahead. Home Ahead will take furniture and home accessories and place them in housing, affordable housing for people that they have helped get off the streets, anybody who's been homeless, put them through a year-long program to get them really stabilized and then set them up in these apartments. And I can't think of a better way of helping people. There are also, obviously Sister Carmen is a really great local resource. We do have ARC thrift stores, and of all the bigger donation centers, that is the only one that I will take stuff to. I tend not to take stuff to Goodwill, especially because they're actually a for-profit company. And most people don't realize that. And one of the things that I say in my presentation to seniors is that, if you want people to get things that have an immediate and direct need, don't just drop it off at a donation center, because it's not going to benefit the people in our local community. So something like Home Ahead, Sister Carmen, Precious Child, if they have things for children, EFA, the Emergency Family Aid Association, is also a good one. There's a couple of shelters, homeless shelters, as well as domestic violence shelters. I just helped somebody who is in a domestic violence situation this morning. And she's not a senior, but nevertheless, she still has an immediate and desperate need, right? So, I really work hard at during the Marshall Fire that we had here a couple of years ago. I think you probably saw many posts that I was doing throughout those first 6 to 9 months when people were really struggling to get things. There were several pop-up type of donation centers that got things to the people directly who needed it desperately. So I will always do that for anything that a client wants to get rid of before just dropping it off at a big donation center.
That's great. I love that. And with that being said, your services, as you said, I think chief of clutter to calm. Is that what you said? You're
It's the chief of chaos to calm.
chief of chaos to calm. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. You obviously cover a very broad spectrum of services, from downsizing, decluttering, helping people who have a mental illness. Even I know you
Yes.
work with many people who have a mental illness that just can't part
Can't.
with things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I love that you help so many people with such a wide array of needs. If folks are looking to utilize your services, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
The best way is to go to our website and fill out the contact form, because that will help expedite the process and get things rolling. I always offer a free 30-minute virtual consult. For seniors though, I know, technology can be tricky sometimes, and Zoom, it doesn't always work, or they don't know how to do it. So if they need an in-person walkthrough, I can do it. It just depends on where they're located, and I can't guarantee that I can get there the next day. If I only did in-person walkthroughs, I would never be able to actually go to clients to do the work.
Sure.
Which, is a good problem to have. That means we're really busy. And actually, I am getting to the point where I am hopefully going to be taking on a partner, which is very exciting, so that that person can be doing more of the day-to-day operations and administrative stuff, and working in the field, so that I can be working more on the business, business development, but most importantly on advocacy work, because I think, I'm extremely active in our community. And, I believe this is a necessity for most people, not a luxury, and especially for seniors. The number of seniors that I have helped who have zero families, zero friends, and at 85 years old are trying to navigate the moving process. I don't know where in our society we decided that that was okay.
Yeah.
But
Very
I've been
difficult.
trying to figure out a lot of things that go on in our society, and I'm struggling with that right now. But I really want to see more resources available, especially for seniors, in some of these outlying areas that we have in Colorado, especially further out in the plains, the Front Range. Is it Eber County? They have zero senior resources, and there's a big push right now amongst the senior care management community that I network in, to get people like me to provide services out there, because they don't have anybody. And
Yeah.
there's no hospice services, there's no assisted living communities, and yet we expect people to have a place to live out their life, but we're not providing the places to live unless they have to move, into Boulder or Denver, and it's really expensive.
Sure.
So, if I have a client that tells me they simply cannot afford our normal going rates, I really do try very hard to work with them and provide them discounted rates as much as possible. I feel very strongly about that.
Fantastic. And I know you do. So thank you for what you do. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
And yeah, great to have you on. So we'll
Thanks so
look forward to
much.
following up again soon. All right.
All right. Take care.
Thanks, Beth. You too. Bye-bye now.
Bye.